A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to Championship Sunday. It is the final day of competition for the 2025 BNL Karting Series season, held here at the world-famous and world-renowned home of champions, Karting Genk. Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, your commentator for what is set to be an epic and exciting championship season finale as the road to Bahrain from our side concludes this very afternoon. We have 5 tickets to give away for the prestigious Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals taking place amidst the sands of the Persian Gulf at the Bahrain International Karting Circuit between November the 29th and December the 6th. What's more, we're going to crown 6 champions this afternoon. But before we get things really underway with the on-track action, let's give you a reminder of the circuit that we're racing at this weekend. Since 1983, the home of champions has been one of the tour de forces of not just domestic but international competition. Its blend of speed and also technicality provides a real driver's challenge. And it still continues to be a driver's favourite in this modern day of global karting. Now, the circuit itself runs in a clockwise direction. It measures 1,360 metres and has a total of 13 corners, with the longest straightaway being on the start-finish straight out of turn 13 and into the fast, hard braking zone for turn 1, a very tight right-hander. So let's go on board with our partners at WFR Live TV with the championship leader coming into the final day of competition, Dams Racing's Tom Langlois from France, the 355. At full acceleration, enter the hard braking zone through the kink into the tight right-hander at turn 1. Then carry speed and commitment through turns 2, 3 and 4. A very, very difficult triple left-hander to negotiate. Hard on the brakes, down into around about 50 kilometers an hour through turn 5 onto the famed Europolan. Accelerate up to around about 120 kph and into the Piff Paff chicane here at turns 6 and 7, using the curbing to your advantage. Then it's heading through into turn 8, into the hairpin at turn 9, and then the short flat out blast down into the sweeping right here at turn 10, also known as Cafe Corner. Through the left-hander, and then it's 2 more corners to negotiate around the 1.36 kilometre layout here at Genk. Through turn 12, apply full power, and then over the line, through out of turn 13, and that's a lap on board with Tom Langlois. And now for the first time, we head trackside. As up first, it's going to be our first of 3 qualifying heats for Senior Rotax. Up first, it's qualifying heat 1, B versus C. So there is Boaz Maximov, someone who has already qualified for the Dutch Lions on Team Netherlands, and he'll be running in the Junior Rotax category this coming November/early December. The chassis partners for Rotax's grand finale in the Persian Gulf have already been set in stone. And for the Senior Rotax division, along with E20 Senior and Master, Sodicart, the French manufacturer, will be once again the official chassis partner, as it has been for multitudes of years for the grand finals for this particular category. Now, an update on the championship standings. At the moment, Tom Langlois did have a 3-point advantage coming into this round of the season, and after yesterday's final, it now is 2 points between him and Great Britain's Macaulay Bishop. Rounding out the top 3 is Switzerland's Tino Sidler, who qualified for Team Switzerland through the RMC CEE. Charlie Smith from the United States of America is on 287 points and finally got his opportunity to win a final yesterday afternoon. Sebastian Koch from Germany rounds out the top 5 ahead of Mateo Denkovic, Ollie Wise, Cameron Nelson, Sverre Ubben and Lado Kuhanidze. Longnoir and Bishop and Sidler have already secured their place at the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals. Now, the dummy grid is being cleared. 38 drivers in senior Rotax are competing like they did yesterday, and the bottom 2 drivers will be eliminated after the qualifying heats have been completed. Thereby, 36 will make it through to go for a maximum score of 55 points for a win. Now, the championship results that I've just provided you all with is incorporating 1 drop score. As of today, we incorporate the second one. And more to the point, it is the best 6 out of 8 results over the championship season that will determine who will become our 2025 BNL Karting Series Senior Rotax Champion. And with regards to Senior Rotax, that joined the BNL Karting Series back in 2011. Nicholas Clays being the first driver, followed by the likes of Berriton Valit, Philip Morin, Vincent Joel, Oliver Askew, the only American to secure in BNL Karting Series history a title. Glenn Van Parijs, Dylan LaHaye, Joe Turney, and recently crowned European champion Sean Butcher won the title back in 2020. Luca Lystra, who's also gone over to other pastures in karting, and a man who's now racing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, Kai Rillets, won the title back in 2022. Kai Hunter took the title 2 years ago, and last season it was the Netherlands' Jaden Teen. So all 3 qualifying heats will be rapid fire for the Senior Rotax division. Each driver will compete in 2 qualifying heats. All 3 of them will be over a duration of 7 minutes, plus an additional lap. For the other classes, for Junior, Mini, Mini Rookie, DD2 and Masters, they will have 1 qualifying heat, 7 minutes plus an additional lap. That will set the grid for the pre-final, which in turn will set the grid for the final. Single digits welcomed everybody when they woke up this morning, but now we've hit double digits and the air temperature is around about 12 degrees Celsius. We have a bone dry circuit, but also one of the things that the drivers will have to contend with is going to be glare off the track at certain points. So the engines start up, the Rotax roll bellows around the halls of this great circuit. Here is your starting grid for the first of 3 qualifying heats. On pole position, the UK's Macaulay Bishop will be joined by the Netherlands' Boaz Maximov on the front row. Wales's Cameron Nelson will be joined by Switzerland's Tino Sidler on row 2. Tames van Wijk and Ollie Wise from the Netherlands and the UK round out row number 3. Row 4, Hayan Bourguignon from France and Jort van Wijk from the Netherlands. Completing the top 10 will be Roland Rodionovs from Latvia and Lloyd Hare from the United Kingdom. Rounding out the grid will be Sverre Ubben, Sasha Aim, Sebastian Koch, Pablo Estevez, Louis Weaver, Arnaud Sabaha, Lex Quintons, Lado Kuhanidze, Enzo Zani, Ollie Yonkers, Dante Sima, Louis Le Rigoleur, Johannes Nyberg, Molly Griffiths, and rounding out the grid will be Rein van der Meer from the Netherlands. So the red lights ignite on the starting gantry. Proceedings overseen by Series Race Director Manuel Branco. He will be keeping a close eye on proceedings along with his crew, watching the action as it happens from multiple different aspects, multiple different viewpoints. But of course, a big thank you to WFR Live TV for assisting with our live coverage every single round of the championship, having been streamed this year live on YouTube and on Facebook. And a big warm welcome to wherever you are watching in the world. Thank you so much for joining us all the way through the season. And if you are watching live, please don't forget, get interactive with us. Why not send a message in the chat on Facebook or YouTube and let us know who you're supporting here this weekend at the Home of Champions. So the field needs to start concertinaing together, because now this is where the road to the grand finals begins. This is the road to championship glory. It's all or nothing. Because now the field, led by Macaulay Bishop and Boris Maximov, they will set the tone. They will set the pace as we will head into the tram lines for the first time today here on Championship Sunday. And we are green with a plume of smoke in the air. The field makes its way down into turn one for the first time. And Cameron Nelson trying to get up the inside of Boris Maximov, who has to use the runoff area early doors. Tino Sidler trying to get through on the 335 from Belgium. Tries to look to the inside into turn number 4. But it is Bishop that leads the way through at turn 5. Onto the Europolan for the first time at breakneck speed. And good to see some of you already piping up in YouTube chat. Neil Russell saying, go Tino Sidler. Len Nye's getting a shout out from a few people. Josh Cook cheering on his teammates from KR Sports, led by Ash Orchard. Right, opening lap about to be completed. And it is, at the moment, a 1-2. Cameron Nelson behind Macaulay Bishop, who leads us across the line to complete the opening tour. Boris Maximov and Taze Van Wyk round out the top 4. Tino Sidler drops to 5th place. A little bit further back, there's some battling all there. Sebastian Koch and Pablo Estevez battling over what is 12th position. Estevez up 2 spots already. But Bishop, with that style of his, he definitely knows when he needs to be aggressive and get on the right foot. So Sebastian Koch gets the warning flag from race control. That's the 380 from Germany for Dams Racing. But Macaulay Bishop taking early advantage in this race. Of course, yesterday we had 3 different winners in the 3 respective heats. One of which was Teresa Babashkova. One of which was championship leader Tom Langlois. And the other one, I think, if I remember correctly, was Tino Sidler. However, Macaulay Bishop being followed by Welsh teammate Cameron Nelson. Macaulay Bishop, this year's Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy winner, has already booked his place on Team UK, along with a multitude of other drivers. As there goes Tino Sidler up the inside of teammate Taze Van Wyk. So Boris Maximov is the Bouvan Power Meet and a Dan Holland Racing triple decker. So Maximov showed really good pace yesterday. Had a difficult qualifying to the youngster from the Netherlands, but managed to secure some good finishes, including a P8 effort in one of the earlier heats. And there's going to be a change a little bit further back. So Ollie Wise has been passed by Ryan Bourguignon, but the young man from KR Sport dives to the inside of the Frenchman and gets through at turn number 1. Nice and neat and tidy, using the slipstream coming out of turn number 13 and getting through. Tino Sidler, new fastest lap of the race. 54.087 by the young man from Switzerland, the younger brother of Mario Sidler, who raced for a multitude of years in senior Rotax. Sverre Ubben battling away with Jort Van Wyk down the Europolan. And Ubben trying to do his very, very best. He's got Romans Rodinovs, the Latvian, right on his coattails. But as we hit half-time in this race, Macaulay Bishop is leading the way quite comfortably. Tino Sidler, fastest overall in the opening sector. Lloyd Hare now gets a warning flag from Race Control, the number 341. Currently running P8 at the minute behind Francis Ryan Bourguignon. But still, it is the top two for Dan Holland Racing and 4 of their karts in the top 5. As finally, looks like there's been a little bit of the deadlock broken. Because behind Nelson and Bishop, Tino Sidler managed to get through on Boris Maximov. So it's a Dan Holland Racing, 1, 2, 3 at the front of the field. It's all about measuring those gaps, and Maximov has Van Wyk up the inside. Maximov responds through turn 9, saying, well, if you're going to run a bit deep, then there we go. Right, so people might be wondering who is eligible for a ticket. Well, Langlois has won one through the National Series de Karting the other week, finished second in the championship standings. Macaulay Bishop has already booked his place through the Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy. Oh, and that is... Now, was that Roman Zrodinov's? It was. Oh, dear. Now, only caught the back end of that, so maybe there might have been a little bit of a touch for the Latvian running with MRG Racing. He was backwards 180 degrees the wrong way. Looks like at the moment, Charlie Smith is in the prime position to become a member of Team USA in Bahrain at the moment. But of course, what we will do is that once we have all the information and we've done our weekend result, podium, championship presentation and grand finals tickets presentation, then they will be posted on the relevant social medias. So, 1 minute and 25 still to go. And Macaulay Bishop calmly, comfortably, coolly leading this race by 3 3/4 tenths of a second. Ollie Wise from KR Sport now sets the fastest lap of the race, as well as Maximov fires his way up the inside of Tino Sidler, coming through turn number 5. Yes, only 1 ticket per class, Tiger Holdhausen, apart from Mini Max Rookie. So each championship is allocated an amount of grand finals tickets by BRP Rotax GmbH in Austria. So we'll have 1 to give away for Mini Max, Junior Max, Senior Max, DD2 and DD2 Masters this weekend. And there are some drivers like Jacob Ashcroft that have effectively won multiple tickets. Oh, and a dive to the inside. That's Thijs van Wyk on Tino Sidler. And that was through at turn number 1. So Sidler drops to 5th, Maximov up to 3rd, Van Wyk up to P4. And if you're watching along and you haven't subscribed to the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel, why not do us a favour? Hit that like button, share, subscribe, and spread the word. So the timer has hit 0. And from lights out, Macaulay Bishop has led every single lap. Louis Weaver now has got a warning flag from Race Control, the 389 from the United Kingdom. Currently running in P12, but last lap is now going to be underway. And Macaulay Bishop expands his lead over Cam Nelson to 7.5 tenths of a second. Boris Maximov, oh, there's a little bit of a fight coming through, and this is going to be Maximov into second now. And Cameron Nelson, he's dropped to the back end of it. So Maximov, Van Wyk, Sidler, and now Nelson falling into the clutches of one Ollie Wise, who was a bit of a scramble behind Macaulay Bishop, and Boris Maximov decided to take full advantage of it. So the last few corners await our drivers in the senior Rotax division for qualifying heat B versus C, and it is going to be first strike here on Championship Sunday to Macaulay Bishop, who comes out of the final corner, and the man from Hoddesdon does the business, winning after 9 laps by 1.683 seconds ahead of Boris Maximov. Thijs van Wyk rounds out your top 3. Tino Sidler, P4. Cameron Nelson, P5. Ryan Bourguignon, 6th, ahead of Ollie Wise. Jort van Wijk in 8th, ahead of Lloyd Hare. And Sverre Ubben completing your top 10. Lex Quintons, Louis Weaver, Lado Kuhanice, Sasha Aim, and Canada's Arnold Sabaha round out your top 15. Ollie Yonkers, Pablo Estevez, Dante Sima, Johannes Nyberg, Enzo Zani, Sebastian Koch, Wayne van der Meer, Louis Le Regular, Molly Griffiths, and unfortunately a turnaround on the start-finish straight meant that Romans Rodionovs from Latvia would finish down in last position. So good start to the day here for Macaulay Bishop, and a great battle behind him that emerged towards the end of the 9-lap race. So, looking back at the highlights of the first heats of the day for senior Rotax in the final day of the season, it was an even start between Macaulay Bishop and Boris Maximov. Roman Rodionovs found himself battling away with Sverre Ubben from GKS Lemons Power, but Bishop seemed to be very much saving a little bit of energy, maybe on a little bit of Macaulay Bishop cruise control, so to speak. But the battle behind them really started to go upwards in terms of an anticipation trend, and the adrenaline started to spike for the drivers. Nice move here by Thijs van Wijk on teammate Tino Sidler from Switzerland. But then there was this moment here. Right, that was why Cameron Nelson lost out to Boris Maximov for second position, and then the floodgates opened. But Macaulay Bishop, calm, cool and concise, wins heat number 1. We'll see senior Rotax in action later on at around about 12:35 for their penultimate qualifying heat of the season. But up next, let's turn our attention to junior Rotax. Now we return trackside to what is going to be another tight battle for the championship title itself. Developments post the final yesterday afternoon meant that Vince van der Halle was excluded from the race, having finished 4th on the road, which means at the moment, with one drop score taken into consideration, your new championship leader is now Canada's Ryan Gandor. Jacob Ashcroft, who has at this moment a still very good chance of defending his junior title from last year, is now equal on points with Noah Barham, his teammate from Dan Holland Racing. Max Sidursky, who unfortunately did have a big drama in one of the races yesterday, where the engine decided to fail due to the electrical system. He's now in P4. Vince van der Holle rounds out the top 5. Georgia's Mate Kobahidze had a comeback to remember yesterday, as he would end up being turned around into the repair area in qualifying yesterday morning, but made a comeback, and he is 6th in the championship standings. Boris Maximov will not take any further part in the junior Rotax division this weekend because he was just out in the senior division. Frederick Floyd Engebretz, Lico van Berkel and Isaac Barker round out your top 10 in the standings. So with regards to tickets that have already been awarded in the junior Rotax division, I know for a fact that Jacob Ashcroft has one. He is the man that is going to be very, very tough to beat. He's won the Euro Trophy Championship this year, the International Trophy. He is possibly one step away, more than likely one step away from defending his BNL Karting Series title. He is also the reigning and defending Grand Finals champion. Last weekend at Paul Fletcher International, he became the Motorsport UK British Kart Championship Junior Rotax champion. And a very humble interview between him and the voice of not just Motorsport UK's British Kart Championship, but also the voice of the Rotax Grand Finals. Henry Baudet had a very, very wonderful interview that Jacob's dad Barry posted on social media. And now this is where really things go up another notch here in this division. It has been very, very much the case of drivers have to put their best foot forward. It's wonderful to have the roving camera down on the dummy grid, as there we see some of our competitors ready and waiting. As we're just under a minute away from the green flag being shown at the end of the dummy grid to release the drivers onto this 1,360 metre 13 turn clockwise circuit. 35 junior Rotax in total here this weekend. Also, one of the things I've had to do this weekend is compile a list. Rory Armstrong has already got his ticket, finished 3rd in the Euro Trophy this year. Also wraps up the RMC Irish Championship with 2 rounds to go. They're currently racing at Nuts Corner for their final round. Max Sidursky also took a ticket through the Chrono Karting Dutch Championship. So the drivers get the green flag signal at the end of the dummy grid and get released onto the circuit here at the iconic Home of Champions. Let's take you through the starting order for the qualifying heat here on Championship Sunday for Junior Rotax. Ryan Gandor from Canada and Jacob Ashcroft, the defending champion from the United Kingdom, line up on the front row. Vince van der Halle from Belgium, and from Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan, Eason Seng rounds out row 2. Luan Seider from Switzerland and Belgium's Lars Lambers rounds out the top 3 rows, with Louis Radcliffe from the United Kingdom, Bran van der Weken from Belgium, Theo Guilloutot from France and Max Sidursky from the Netherlands rounding out your top 10. After that, it's Noah Barham, Mate Kobahidze, one of 2 Georgian drivers here this weekend, Devin Mieta, Kian Bernard, Callum Sims, Rory Armstrong, Lucas Lauder, Isaac Barker, Sebastian Lersch, Boris Verhaag, Maj Tusek, Connor Large, Lieke van Berkel, Sebastian Chow Clark, Jenthe Moonen, Justin Fonk, Emily Siedkowska, Corn Willems, Louis Bishop, Riley Morgan, who celebrates her birthday along with Ed Matthews in the Dan Holland Racing Camp. So many congratulations to the pair of you. Then it's Lionel Munguia, Patrick Thorsby Askvik from Norway, Sam Kohler, then Daniel Hakkinen and Kays Aziza from Switzerland, rounding out your grid. So there is pretty much all bar one of your drivers showing up on the starting grid. 7 minutes plus an additional lap for these drivers. Air temperature has now risen another 3 degrees Celsius, 15 degrees Celsius. So drivers being given instructions by Series Race Director Manuel Branco as they pass the red line, point of no return. Red lights on the gantry. So, the first of 3 races. Let's see what happens as the red lights. They will now go out. We're green, underway. Good even start by the front row. Run driver struggling in the back. That's the 209 of Lionel Munguia, but there's been a moment. Oh dear, a couple of carts turned around. One of which I think might have been the 253. Isaac Barker. Isaac was one of the drivers sandwiched in the moments in qualifying yesterday morning. So Isaac Barker finds himself backwards. Who else was there as well? Oh no, that's Vince van der Hollen. Vince van der Hollen. At least it's in a qualifying heat, but he's got to have a bit of a comeback through at the pre-final a little bit later on after the lunch break. So Vince van der Hollen, who was leading the championship coming into this round, is now having his fair share of dramas on the final race day of the season. And that's compounding what happened yesterday. Ashcroft leads after the opening lap. Gandor in second. Seng in third. Lambers, Van der Beken, Radcliffe, Swiderski. Let's see what else has happened. So Vince van der Hollen out of the race. Lionel Munguia didn't got past sector number 1, but Ashcroft trying to sprint away from the youngster from Canada. So a minute and a half completed. We're on lap 2 as the field makes its way down the Europalan. Some 2-3 driver battle, well, 2 or 3 clumps of drivers in some respects sitting together. Rory Armstrong, the young man from County Down, Northern Ireland, has just received a black and white warning flag from race control. But after the opening 2 laps, Ashcroft still continues to lead the way. Gandol still in second. And now Max Swiderski makes his way past Brown van der Beken. Is up 4 spots in the opening 2 laps of this encounter. Oh, Maj Tusek has dropped down the order. Devon Yater has as well, down to 28th. As Ashcroft bumps over the curbs on the left side, coming through turn number 4. Lars Lambers closing in on Ryan Gandor. Lars Lambers waiting in the wings to see if he can get through on the Canadian in front, but a multi-car pile-up. Oh dear, and someone's lost the side. Side pod. So, oh no, Nassau panel. That is going to be Louis Bishop. Connor Large was also on top of that one. Also the 265 of Maj Tusek. Involved in that melee. One cart did manage to get away from it all. As now the frantic activity at the front of the field has started away. And there is a change. Lars Lambers now through. Rory Armstrong, new fastest lap of the race. Keep your eyes on Yenthi Moonen, down in 12th position, up 13 spots as Ryan Gandor looks to slingshot past. Jacob Ashcroft into turn 6. And straight away, you've got the Louis Radcliffe has definitely made an impression here as well, because he's right up there. So is Max Siderski. As the field makes its way through turn 10. And it looks like there is going to be a bit of an extensive lead now for Lars Lambers. Oh, and it's going to be a bit of elbows out here at turn 12 and 13. So 252 gets a warning flag. 292 gets a warning flag. Oh, it's like you get a warning flag, you get a warning flag. Riley Morgan has got a warning flag. Cian Bernard has got one as well. And now it's a case of just getting through this part of the competition. And I just saw the 244 Matti Kubahidze right with Louis Radcliffe. That's the battle for what is now P3 on the road. And Radcliffe has become the proverbial cork in the bottle. Luan Seidel from Switzerland, who's now in 14th position, has set the fastest lap of the race, as everyone else is not concerning themselves with lap time. Lars Lambers has got a lead. Oh, when we got, well, that is the aftermath of what we just saw. So Maj Tusek and Louis Bishop out of the race, and with Bishop's Nassau panel adrift, and that was a move and an attempt by Louis Radcliffe on Matti Kubahidze, but this is where Bran van der Weyken, Max Siderski factor in, and van der Weyken round the outside through at turn 4, tries to dive up the inside of Radcliffe through at 5. That could open the floodgates, but Radcliffe holds on for 4th for the meantime. Defends against van der Weyken, through they go into turn 6 and 7. As we're coming down to the last minute and a half, plus an additional lap, Matti Kubahidze now gets a warning flag from race control in the 244 Dan Holland Racing entry. Oh, and there's been further dramas. I think I've just seen, don't tell me, Rory Armstrong and Jeppe Moonen. Well, let's just see what's happened. Jeppe Moonen down in 21st. So Lambers leads by 0.67 of a second ahead of Ryan Gandor. Matti Kubahidze now P3, Bran van der Weyken, Max Siderski, Louis Radcliffe, Noah Barham, Jacob Ashcroft, Cian Bernard, Rory Armstrong, where has he tumbled to? 25th. Jeppe Moonen has tumbled to 21st. So there might have been a slight moment between the pair of them, maybe an altercation of wheels or side pods or bodywork. But Lars Lambers at the moment is leading the way. Fastest lap at the moment is still in the hands of, well, it's now Theo Guillutot. 56.005 for the French driver. But effectively, this is where things are going to get very, very close. As Noah Barham tries to make his moves forward. He's behind Max Siderski, who now gets past on Bran van der Weyken for P4. Ryan Gandor now sets the new fastest lap of the race as the timer counts down to 0. Next time around, it will be the last lap of the race. And at the moment, well, Jacob Ashcroft was calmly holding on to things, but the story turned a different corner, didn't it? And that is what can happen. In the meantime, Ryan Gandor is, I think, pretty much with Lars Lambers and is right on his rear. Now, Gandor's going to go for the move up the inside. Through into turn 12 goes the Canadian. And out through 13, Gandor leads Lambers onto the final lap. And Lambers trying to do everything he can to get through. But Gandor holding his line as they go through into turns 2, 3 and 4. Lambers swings wide going into turn 5, maybe to get the crossover. And at this point, well, Lambers is going to get the slingshot. Goes to the outside of turn 6. Tries to do what he can to unsettle Ryan Gandor, who over the last year or so has really, really improved in the junior Rotax division. Also have to give a shout out to a member of the Rotax racing family after we complete this race. But more to the point, Ryan Gandor holding on Lars Lambers to the outside, through into turn number 12 for the final time. Lambers looks to the inside. He's going to get a nose ahead. It is going to be Lars Lambers by a photo finish at the line. 21 thousandths of a second. So Lars Lambers wins the 9-lap encounter by 21 thousandths ahead of Ryan Gandor. Mate Kobahidze up from 12th on the grid, finishes P3. Noah Barham up from 11th on the grid, finishes 4th, ahead of Max Sadurski, who started 10th, rounded out the top 5. Bran van der Weken, Louis Radcliffe, Jacob Ashcroft, Kian Bernard, Sebastian Lersch round out the top 10. Callum Sims, Luan Seidel, Theo Giluto, Boris Verhagen, Easton Seng round out your top 15. Lieke van Berkel, Sebastian Chow-Clark, Riley Morgan, Corn Willems, and Lucas Stoddard round out the top 20. Kaiser Aziza finishes 21st, having started last. Head of Rory Armstrong, Isaac Varka, Jente Moonen, Emily Siedkowska, Patrick Askvik, Daniel Hakkinen, Justin Fonk, and Sam Kohler, who round out the 29 finishers. Unfortunately, we lost Devin Mieta, Conor Lange, Louis Bishop, Maj Tusek, Vince van der Holle, and Lionel Munguia in that race. So a very, very fast and frantic junior Rotax qualifying heat. And Louis Bishop finding out, courtesy of Conor Lange, having no front Nassau panel on the vehicle. So the mechanics will have a little bit of work to do after this race, because the pre-final will take place for junior Rotax at 2:25 approximately local time. That's Central European summertime. It's only towards the end of the month when the clocks go back. But one thing that was brought to my attention, unfortunately, the Rotax racing family has lost a very, very, very lovely member of the Rotax family. Funnily enough, Barry Ashcroft I have to thank for what he said about a sticker that is on his son Jacob's nose cone, and it's Racing for Gene. Unfortunately, earlier on this year, we lost from the UK distributor for BRP Rotax from Jag Engineering UK Limited, Jean Gravett, the mum of both Gary and Tina, who I've got, and I've had the opportunity of working with the team at Jag Engineering. Jean, a very, very lovely woman, one of the pillars of the network that help to provide engines and all the relevant bits and pieces such as accessories, tyres, and have been a big part of the UK Rotax community. And we miss Jean. We also have, we like the tribute that Jag Rotax have decided to run on the Team UK uniform this year, which will be a white rose included in the Team UK's 2025 Grand Finals team wear. And on behalf of everyone here at the BNL Karting Series and Karting Gang, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family of Jean. And obviously, Jean will be remembered for a very, very long time to go. So we will always carry Jean in our hearts here at the Home of Champions. So the dust has settled after that particular encounter for junior Rotax. But up next, we now turn our attention to the youngest drivers on the grid and of the Rotax racing family. From juniors, we go to Mini and Mini Rookie. So, with the dummy grid being cleared here at the Home of Champions, we head trackside once again. And it is really getting very, very close indeed. Now, taking into consideration yesterday's results, the driver that you are looking at your screens. For those watching at home, thank you so much for joining us live on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. We're broadcasting all stages of this Championship Sunday right here, live on the internet. A big thank you to our live stream partners that joined us at the beginning of this year, WFR Live TV. So there is Riley Morrow in the 122. Just behind is the 165 for KR Sports. And that is the youngster from Denmark who really has showcased that he is one to watch. That's Finn Albert Jorgensen. We've also had a little bit of a cheer for that one. Andreas Luckman putting in capital letters, Finn Jorgensen. Brilliant stuff. Also on the grid, I have to give a shout out to Logan Rolfe in the 114, running in the... well, that's a livery I haven't seen in a while. Good old Synergy Envy chassis, and he's running with the KR Sport team this weekend. So good to have Logan on the grid. There's people watching along from all across the world. There's Julian Dummer on the Formula K chassis, one of the German drivers. Yes, and Josh Kirk, a very good point. Of course, Logan and his family, they had all the trailer with all his karting kit stolen a week ago. So the karting community once again has rallied together. And it's great to have Logan on the grid here in Belgium, despite what has happened to the family last week. And I've got to meet some of the members of the family over the course of the weekend. Lovely people. And it's a shame what has happened to them. But come thick or thin, the karting community always comes together to help. But Riley Morrow, after taking into consideration one drop score, now leads the championship on 318 points. 313 to Austin Amman. Tom Reed, not here this weekend, currently sits third. Mick Klinkers, Leo Livings, Harry Radcliffe, Leon Herbos, Finn Albert Jorgensen, Trent Van Mellick, Ryan Rampadella, they round out the top 10. So drivers in that first clump that I know that have actually won tickets. Riley Morrow winning the Italian Minimax Cup at the final round of the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. Finn Albert Jorgensen has won one. Well, he's won two. Mick Klinkers has won two, but they can only use one. Tom Reed secured his at PFI last week. Austin Amman yet to get that opportunity, but if it's a 1-2 at Sam Pollock Racing between those two, well, Riley's already got his ticket, so Austin will automatically be awarded the ticket from the BNL. So let's have a look at the starting grid. Austin Amman and Riley Morrow start on the front row. Logan Rolfe and Finn Albert Jorgensen round out row 2. Julian Dummer will be joined on row 3 by Harry Radcliffe with Leon Herbos and Mick Klinkers, with Leo Livings and Jensen Walker rounding up the top 10. Completing the 24-strong grid will be Dejan Habits, Trent Van Mellick, Jack Klim, Jan Wozniak, Dimitar Lazarov, Ben Falke, Matthias Verreken, Teddy Murphy, Julian Janssen, Leonard Koster, Arlo Gamble, Milo de Karlsmaker, Theo Freyer from Ireland, and Milos Baginski from Poland. Ken Clark saying, go Josh Kirk. Right, there we go. We know who you're supporting, Ken. Hope you're keeping well. But once again, for all these qualifying heats, it is 7 minutes plus an additional lap. After this, we'll have 2 more to go before we head to the pre-final stage of this last day of competition. And it will also be the last qualifying heat of the year with Senior Rotax qualifying heat 3, groups A versus B. So it's a Sam Pollitt Racing front row. It's down to Austin Amman and Riley Morrow to lead the field. But in the final, it's going to be all drivers for themselves. There will be no team games brought into play. So the field at a crawl past the red line of no return by the pit lane entry. Oman and Morrow control the pace through into turn number 12 and 13 as the red lights signal that we are on starters' orders here for the qualifying heat, the last one for these drivers this season. So it is going to be revs up into the tram lines, red lights, go to green. We're underway and racing, and it's a good start by Austin Oman. Riley Morrow trying to keep to the outside, and Logan Rolfe is probably going to try and see if he can do what he can, but it's going to be a change for the lead, and it's side by side between the SPR teammates. Oh, this is going to be very close going through into turn 4. And oh, there's a clash between the pair, and straight on goes Austin Oman. He nearly clips the front of Riley Morrow, who is millimetres away from drama. It had to happen at some point, and then it did. Oh, that's the first warning shot. And Riley Morrow carrying a lot of speed through that turn 4. I think maybe Austin Oman might have just got a little bit caught out of it, and he went steaming over the grass at breakneck speed. Oh, and the runoff area being used a little bit further back for the battle for 4th position. But after the opening lap, well, the Minimax Cat has been thrown amongst these little pigeons, and it's Riley Morrow that leads the way. Harry Radcliffe in second. Finn Albert Jorgensen, the youngster with KR Sports. Rounding out the top 3, Austin Oman gets a warning flag from race control. Shout out for Teddy Murphy. Shout out for Tern van Melik. Thanks to Luke Scheumer and also Denise Hussey watching along on YouTube. So a very, very dramatic opening lap in this Minimax qualifying heat. And Riley Morrow now gets a warning flag for him as well in the 122. So both teammates on the front row, both having a black and white warning flag from race control. Battle for 4th. The bottle in the court for that one, I think, is Julian Dimmer at the moment. With Jensen Walker, looks to the inside at turn number 12 and gets through. And now here comes the charging Dane. Finn Albert Jorgensen to the inside of Harry Radcliffe, and he is through. That's second place for the 165. Of course, we have to give a shout out to our friends at Rotax Max Challenge Denmark, hosting their season finale this weekend at Voyens Motorsport Arena, an hour from the home of Lego, Billund. But with 4 minutes and 30 plus an additional lap still to go. The elbows are out, the knives are sharpened, and anyone is fair game. And now you see how quick Finn Albert Jorgensen, he was absolutely rapid in the final. He's been quick all weekend long, and he seems very, very happy underneath the awning at Ash Orchard's team. So at the moment, now where is Austin Oman in all of this? He's all the way down in 16th position. So Jacques Lim in the 119 gets a warning flag. I think I also saw 144 Lennart Köster from Germany. But the battle for the race lead, Finn Albert Jorgensen right on the rear bumper of Riley Morrow. New fastest lap by Mick Klinkers, the driver that is powered by mum and dad according to the back of his race helmet. And that is a 58.971. It's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Does Finn Albert Jorgensen fire it up the inside or around the outside and do the old Slim Shady on Riley Morrow? But Riley Morrow, whose winning streak on Saturday was broken yesterday by a certain number 105 in the form of Mick Klinkers, now has to worry about a fast-charging Dane behind him. And Finn Albert Jorgensen, when he gets the sniff of something, he's going to go for it. Jorgensen for the lead, and the Dane is through. The Dane is through on the Brit at turn 1 as we start lap number 5. And that was just showing how patient you need to be sometimes in these races. There is always a strategy. that a driver will have in their mind. But sometimes if plan A doesn't work, plan B, plan C, or if you can react and adapt on the fly, that is exactly how a driver like this from Denmark, who I've seen race in RMC Germany last year, won the title with an RS competition liveried Tony kart. Of course, Robert Schlunzen used to race back in the late 1990s during the days of Super Formula A and Formula A 100cc racing. Used to run a Birlot, he did, which he now has back in his possession. A wonderful example, and it's been fully restored as well. So 1 minute and 45 plus an additional lap to go. Finn Albert Jorgensen now sets a new fastest lap of the race in clear air. 58.712 for the youngster from Denmark. And he's pulled a gap over Riley Morrow to nearly the tune of 4.5 tenths of a second. So now it's going to be the case of what's happening down in third position. Harry Radcliffe is the cork in the bottle. Here goes Mick Klinkers up the inside. Through at turn 10. Neatly done like stealing candy off a baby. The 105 gets through for P3. Now here goes Jensen Walker up the inside at turn 12. Harry Radcliffe now demoted to 5th. It could be 6th. Julian Dummer tried to look through the inside at turn number 13. And the German on the Formula K chassis had to hold back and wait for another opportunity. So 40 seconds on the timer remaining. Austin Aman, who's now made a comeback up to 10th position. New fastest race lap from him. 58.650 for the 121 from Sam Pollitt Racing. We're coming down to the end of this qualifying heat for Mini and Mini Rookie. Now, Arlo Gamble, all he needs to do is carry enough points. He will basically effectively become this year's Mini Rookie champion. No Cian Hay this weekend. I would understand that he would be currently at Voyens at the moment. And Micromax Rookie champions, well, the Minimax Rookie champions started back in 2023. Jack Freeman being the inaugural champion. Ryan Rampadalath the year after. As now Julian Dummer. And also, I think that was that Logan Rolfe that got through as well? Yes, it was. Mick Klinkers now takes the fastest lap of the race into his pocket. And that was a 58.632. So the timer has expired. We are now on the penultimate lap. So lap 8 out of 9. And Finn Albert Jorgensen doing exactly what he needs to do, what he wants to do. And he seems very, very happy. I had a chat with him, his dad Bo, and his mum last night. And great to see them all in fine spirits here this weekend. Logan Rolfe up the inside. That was a nice little move on Germany's Julian Dummer. And now Harry Radcliffe coming back into this as the final lap gets underway. Logan Rolfe ahead of Julian Dummer. It's really good to see Logan come over here to pastures new, I would say. And welcome back to Louisa Becker. Yes, Dad's running up next, Louisa. So DD2 and DD2 Masters, they'll be out for their qualifying heat out next. Excuse me. But let's concentrate on the man up front. Well, we won't. We will for a brief second. But then it's the battle for Logan for 5th place. Logan Rolfe, Julian Dummer and Harry Radcliffe. 2's company and 3's the crowd. But it's going to be down to the final couple of corners. And Finn Albert Jorgensen from Denmark for KR Sport will win today's qualifying heat here in Minimax and Minimax Rookie. Head of Riley Morrow, Mick Klinkers, Jensen Walker. Well done, Logan Rolfe, finishing in P5. Head of Julian Dummer, Harry Radcliffe. Jazz Hands Leo Livings now makes his way back up to, well, Leo Livings up to 8th. Great comeback drive, not just pointed out by me, but also Emerson McAndrew Uren. You are always in YouTube chat. And don't, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But a great comeback from Austin Aman, finishing 9th, ahead of Leon Herbos, who rounds out your top 10. Ian Habits, Trent Van Malik, Jack Klim, Ben Falker, Arlo Gamble, Teddy Murphy, Leonard Koster, Jan Wozniak, Milo de Karlsmaker, Matthias Verreken, Dimitar Lazarov, Theo Freher, then Milos Baginski and Julian Janssen. Unfortunately, did not make it to the checkered flag, I'm afraid. But there we go. That is it for Mini and Mini Rookie. We'll have a look at the highlights, and then we'll head on to our penultimate qualifying heat. Well, our last qualifying heat for the other two classes we haven't had yet, which is DD2 and DD2 Masters up next. But here we go, folks. Here are the highlights from that wonderful Mini Max and Mini Rookie qualifying heats here at the Home of Champions.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
It is the halcyon class of the Rotax racing family, DD2 and DD2 Masters. Just a few minutes away from getting underway with the two-speed gearbox-driven 125cc Rotax Max Evo engines. There in shot is Mats Johan Overhoff, a man who back in 2023 went to the sands of the Persian Gulf and captured the E20 Senior Crown for Team Germany. He's only been competing in just some of the, well, he's been competing in RMC Germany this year for Kraft Motorsport, the team run and operated by one of the, I think, one of, if not the youngest team owner I know, Kilian Kraft, who said to me, 62 race meetings this year. Because not only do they have the main team based in Germany, but of course they've got the alliance with Potenza Racing Engines up with the Gilbert family up in Scotland, in Dollery in Ayrshire. So there's been a lot of action going on around for Kilian and his relevant teams. There's Len Nyes. You might remember this guy. I remember this guy back competing at the initial 2018 Rotax Max International Trophy in GKS Lemon's Power Colours. And the man he was battling with that weekend was a certain Thomas Strauver, who is now a race winner in Formula 4. Also, great to see the sunshine is plentiful here at the Home of Champions. There is, and even at 6 degrees Celsius this morning in the tyre park, I was seeing people still wearing shorts. Now, there is a little bit of method to the madness for this. And they go, well, the thing is, if I've got shorts, my legs get wet, but at least my trousers stay dry. So that's actually a good little bit of logic. There's Antoine Barberou in the number 402, running on the Birolart chassis that will be the chassis partner for DD2 this year at the Grand Finals. And a new addition for Masters this year, because the name Barrichello not only will return to the grid, courtesy of ex-F1 star and Stock Car Pro Series driver and recent NASCAR Brazil champion for 2025, Rubens Barrichello, but it's his own chassis brand. Luisa, das kann ich total verstehen von deiner Seite, dass dein English nicht perfekt ist, no? So I understand if you're having to use translation software, it's absolutely fine. And I know that you've seen that your dad is on the grid and he has secured pole position for the DD2 Masters classification. Now, championship update for both classes. Sam Knopfjes, who got his ticket through the Euro Trophy, not Chrono Karting, as I was corrected. I had a list and I had information by the side of it. Sam Knopfjes leads at the way, but of course Antoine Barberou on 296 points is here. Frederick Zebis is not here, but Antoine Barberou, from what I understand, has already secured his ticket. Len Nyes also secured his ticket this year. So the battle for the ticket, I think, is going to be between two drivers. Maybe three. Wout Kirstens has already secured his place on Team Netherlands this year, I think, if I remember correctly. Just got to refer to Chrono Karting social media on that one, because recently at the Lansard, just outside of Eindhoven, and pretty much you are 10 minutes from the airport there. Yeah, so Wout Kirstens has also received a ticket. So it will be between Nicolas Guillaume, Laurens Herboz and Axel Hoos. Which one of those three could get the ticket? But Christophe Capitain, he leads on 324 points ahead of Michael Becker. Jeremy Brasler, who was with us for the first 3 rounds, not here this weekend. Dmitry Ostrovsky rounds out the top 4 in the championship on 246 points. But this is bearing in mind, it is one drop score incorporated. So let's take you through the grid for the DD2 and DD2 Masters qualifying heat. Len Nyes and Antoine Barberou start on the front row. Laurens Herboz and David Maslakovitz round out row 2. Nicolas Guillaume and Wout Kirstens round out row 3 ahead of Matis Ankans and Gustav Zusakovs. Ralf van der Paven and Axel Hoos round out the next row ahead of Mats-Johan Overhoff and teammate and the returnee after 3 months out of the saddle, Louis Koch. So the Craft Motorsport boys running side by side. Then it's Michael Trittenpreis with Vincent van Kerkhoven on the next row. Michael Becker starts in DD2 Masters pole position, and that will be 15th. He'll have Poland's Jakub Malamis alongside Wim Rouleau, who's also going to be representing Team Netherlands for the 2nd year in a row. He picked up his ticket at De Lansard just the other week. And they're followed by Dmitry Ostrovsky, Kian de Brandt, and Christophe Capitain, having his worst qualifying of the season, starts in stone, dead last. So the formation lap is underway. The red lights are on the gantry. Here at the Home of Champions. And more to the point, At this time yesterday, it was around about the same temperature, but it looks like the sun has a little bit more intensity here on a colder Sunday. The drivers having to get the tyres and also the brakes up to temperature. These karts use a front and rear braking system, so more stopping power and bigger acceleration and a lot of torque going through the back axle. But as we have with all other classes, these karts with a 2-speed gearbox are designed to do flying starts, rolling starts, Indianapolis style starts, whatever you want to call it. But it is Len Nyes and Antoine Barbaroux alongside each other on the front row. And this is where you really see the psychological mind games go in. So the drivers will now exit the final corner. They will head into the tram lines. The lights will go green. First time of asking. And now it's the run down to turn 1 for the first time. Antoine Barbaroux trying to go around the outside of Len Nyes, who holds station. And Barbaroux has lost out second position to Laurence Herboz. Nicolas Guillaume trying to get through on David Maslakovitz early doors, but not able to do anything about it. Laurence Herboz gets blocked. Well, has defence right in front of him, courtesy of Len Nyes. Antoine Barbaroux trying to do so many switch arounds. It's unseen. It's unheard of. Going down the Europalan into turn number 6 and 7. So this is going to allow an initial breakaway for Len Nyes. Laurence Herboz in P2. Antoine Barbaroux P3. P4 David Maslakovitz with Nicolas Guillaume trying to get his way past. And then Gustav Zusakovs and Kirsten's, Mattis Ankans going side by side. And right behind them, they've got the likes of, it's Usakovs actually. Ankans has dropped all the way down to 9th place behind the 455 of Combi Kart Racing Team's Axel Hose. Willem, good to see Willem van der Loos again, as always. Always a smiling face to see in the paddock and always got a smile on his face. A very happy-go-lucky person, that is. Former representative of the Dutch Lions at the Grand Finals in his own right. So the first minute and a half is completed, and Len Nyes has stormed away to an initial lead of over 3/4 of a second. Laurence Herboz keeping Antoine Barbaroux at bay as we are about to complete our second lap. Barbaroux trying to get the slipstream coming out of turn number 13 on Laurence Herboz. And at the moment, the Frenchman right on the rear bumper. Maslakovitz still keeping Nicolas Guillaume at bay. But this is also possibly, this might help Guillaume in the longer run of things. Because Guillaume, at this moment in time, as now Barbaroux dives to the inside. Is there a switchback from Herboz? No, that gets countered instantly. So Guillaume, Herboz, at the minute, seems to have the advantage in terms of on-track position. When it comes down to the final a little bit later on, it is basically a case of whoever finishes highest, I would say, out of Herboz, Guillaume, and who's gets the ticket. And now there's going to be a dive, an attempted dive to the inside. That was by the 424 of Michael Trittenpreis. Vincent van Kerkhofen's moved down to 13th position as Trittenpreis has gotten through. And there is Christophe Capitat, who has now taken the lead in the DD2 Masters classification. Nicolas Guillaume is not hanging about, though. Fastest lap by the 444. And that was a 53.766. Vincent van Kerkhoven getting a black and white warning flag from race control. Of course, driving standards are being monitored out on circuit. But in the meantime, with 3.5 minutes to go, we're halfway through this race, and Len Nyes continues to expand his gap over Antoine Barbaroux. And that gap now is 1.139 seconds and climbing. Laurence Herboz in P3, Maslakovitz, Guillaume, Usakovs, Kirstens, Van der Parver, Axel Hoos, and Mattis Ankans round out your top 10. Good showing. I mean, it's been it's a steep learning curve for Ralph van der Parver up until the latter part of this year. he was running in seniors. Now joins brother Mika, who is working behind the scenes and getting his hands dirty for a change. Mika's already qualified for Team Netherlands this year in the DD2 class. Also good to see some former BNL Karting Series champions in the paddock, as I did spy with my little eye Tom Bracken, a former champion in his own right. Cross-eyed Lion, good morning from the grandstands. If you've worn anything else than shorts this morning, the sun would have boiled you in seconds. It's just so warm in the sun. Atomic Beans 22. No, this is not Karting d'Espagne. This is Karting Genk. Thank you for the question. But some great battles up and down the order as the drivers really starting to get up to pace after the early couple of laps. But more to the point, Axel Hoos has ended up tumbling down the order a little bit. But meantime, Len Nyes, well, he's having his lead slightly truncated by Antoine Barberou in the meantime. And that gap has now gone to less than 9/10 of a second as we hit lap 7 out of what will be a 9-lap race. And Nicola Guillaume has tried everything in the playbook apart from throwing the kitchen sink at David Maslakovic to get through for that 4th spot. So it's every which way you can, Nicholas. Come on, get with it. You know what you're capable of. I've seen what he's capable of over the years. And in his own right, he's won the Rotax Belgium Max Challenge. And that final round will take place in the penultimate weekend of October. Meantime, Len Nyes is going to take us on to the penultimate lap of the race. Man running with Shippers Racing BV. Len Nyes, in his career, hasn't actually won a title in the BNL Karting Series, quite interestingly enough. And now, Nicolas Guillaume has lost, well, no, that is Lawrence Herbeau's ahead of Nicolas Guillaume. So Guillaume has got a fresh target, a fresh meet in front of him. And Guillaume switches to the outside through turn 5. Try and get the switch around on Lawrence Herbeau's. But at that point, Herbeau's had good traction coming out of turn number 5. Into 6 and 7. And now Gustav Zuzakov joins the train. So effectively, David Maslakovic becomes the bottle in the cork in P3. But next time around, we will go on to the last lap as Guillaume defends against Uzakovs. Uzakovs has already got his ticket by taking the, well, on countback beating Ragnar Virus of all people for RMC Nordic. Last lap underway. Uzakovs trying left and right to try and see if he can get through. And Guillaume keeps the door firmly closed and bolted in front of the Latvian. Len Nyes, the gap is coming down between him and Antoine Barberou, but maybe the case that Barberou is not going to be able to facilitate a move to get through on Len Nyes, but it will mean that he does still have the advantage over the competition going into the pre-final a little bit later on. But Len Nyes coming under strife in this latter stage of the race. Looks over the right shoulder into turn 12, powers out of the corner, now through turn 13 at full throttle. Len Nyes, well, by a whisker. 99 thousandths at the flag, takes the win ahead of Antoine Barberou. David Maslakovic holds off Lawrence Herbeau's to take P3. Nicolas Guillaume holds off Gustav Zuzakovs to round out the top 5. They finished ahead of Wout Kirstens, Mathis Hankans, Ralf van der Pavert, and Axel Hoos, who rounds out your top 10. Mats Johanoverhoff finishes 11th, ahead of Christophe Capitan, who made his way from the back of the field up 8 places to win in Masters. He finished ahead of Marco Trittenpreis, Vincent van Kerkhoffen, Kian de Brandt, Louis Koch, Jakub Malamis, Michael Becker taking 2nd in Masters on 18th on the road ahead of Dimitri Ostrovsky and Wim Hulot. The only driver getting a warning flag in that race was the 483 And that was Vincent van Kerkhoven from GKS Lemons Power. But Len Nyes continues what he did yesterday, even though the final didn't go his way post-technical scrutineering yesterday afternoon. But that concludes the qualifying heats for DD2 and DD2 Masters. We'll take you through the highlights very shortly. Before the lunch break, we'll be going to our penultimate qualifying heats of the weekend and of the season for Senior Rotax, with Groups A versus C for qualifying heat 2 coming up next. So we are not that far away from our last qualifying heat before the lunch break. It's qualifying heat number 2. A versus C coming up in about 4 minutes' time, but just had the confirmation of the results from qualifying heat B versus C. Macaulay Bishop did take the win after 9 laps of racing ahead of Thijs van Wijk, Tino Sidler, Cameron Nelson, Ryan Bourguignon. Boris Maximov did receive a penalty post-race that would demote him down to 10th position. Basically, in terms of driving standards, a 5-second time penalty for a bad manoeuvre, according to the official results. Lex Quintons and Arnaud Sabarin both picked up a 5-second front fairing penalty. So, a little bit of discussion down on the grid. There's Mateo Denkovic on the right-hand side. And in many respects, also another driver that has done the business. 2023 was his year in juniors. Took the title in Junior Rotax here at the BNL Karting Series. Pretty much won everything, I think. Was kind of echoing Mike Van Vrucht back from the late 2010s. Van Vrucht these days doing a lot more data analysis and driver coaching, like a lot of drivers that go through the senior ranks. But also, when you think about it, Mateo Dankovic, a two-time champion in the BNL Karting Series, won the Minimax title back in 2021, and then won juniors in 2023. So the grid is being cleared ahead of this penultimate qualifying heat. So it's Group A versus C on this particular occasion. And then it's going to be Groups A versus B next time out. So on the front row, it's going to be Belgium and the Netherlands. So Mateo Radenkovic will start from pole position. Boris Maximov will be to his immediate left-hand side. And there we see the 312, the man from the land of the stars and stripes, Charlie Smith from Strawberry Racing. He picked up the win in the final yesterday. And quite a depth and breadth of driver talent on this grid. Here in Senior Rotax, 38 drivers here this weekend. There's Tino Sidler in the back of shot there for a brief moment. The 314 from Switzerland. Multi-time champion in the Rotax Max Swiss Challenge. I have to give a shout out to a good friend, a man who works with one of the Formula One teams, Mike Hitchcock, formerly a UK resident, now resides just outside of Hinwil in Switzerland. If you know Hinwil, you know the words kick Sauber. That's all I'm saying on that one. And that team turns to Audi next year in 2026, when Cadillac Formula One joined the grid, making it an 11-team, 22-car field for 2026, with another big change in Formula One regulations. So 30 seconds to go before we get the green flag and the drivers are sent on their way. After this, we'll have the customary lunch break before we go to the pre-final stages, and that will be due to start at 1:45 local time. So, green flags and green lights for the drivers as they head out onto the world-famous home of champions, Karting Genk. Now, this is going to be the second of 3 qualifying heats for Senior Rotax. Let's take you through the groups, or the grid for this group, these groups thereof. A versus C, qualifying heat number 2. Pole position, Mateo Dankovic. Alongside him, right on cue, Roger Young. Hello. What time are juniors out next? 2:25 this afternoon. I know you're cheering on for Eason Sang. That's when they will be out for their pre-final and their final, 4:05 p.m. I can't remember what the time difference is between here and from Chinese Taipei and the island of Taiwan. That's what from Taiwan. I think it's probably like 10 o'clock at night, so I'm sure you got a beer in your hand, Roger. Right, grid for this one. Mateo Dankovic starts from pole, ahead of Boris Maximov. Then we've got Charlie Smith, Tino Sidler. Tom Longnoir, the championship leader, starts from P5. Ahead of Ollie Wise, Christopher Holst, Jos van Wijk, Trofim Krotov, Lloyd Hare, Teresa Babichkova, and Sasha M. That is row 6. Row 7, Lewis Goff and Pablo Estevez. Then we've got Bastien Mesnil and Ado Sabaha, Tino Potier, Lado Kohenidze, Thomas Verheyen, Ollie Yonkers, Alex Adams-Acton, Louis Le Rigoleur, Theo Eriksson, Molly Griffiths and Joe Gethin round out your grid. So, Macaulay Bishop won the opening heats of the weekend. Will we have 3 different winners from 3 different races in the qualifying heat stages? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned, because you'll have to wait until the final qualifying heat for seniors at 2:45 p.m. approximately. That is the That is the timetable, but we could, as we had yesterday, we did have a little bit of a delay and a stoppage, but we might run a little bit closer to time if we're able to speed up between races. So it is going to be the case of who will win this qualifying heat and join Macaulay Bishop. Now, today's a Babichkova yesterday won the opening heat. And then we had 3 different winners from 3 different heats themselves. So the drivers now starting to close up. They now pass the red line of no return. Brandon Klein-Nagelvort, big up the Kuhanidze. Oh, big up the ladder. There we go. I know you're DHR blue and yellow through and through, Brandon. Known that for years, my friend. Right, red lights on the gantry, and they now will start to sprint out of the final corner and accelerate. Revs rise, lights are not out. Full start has been called. Roger, good man, cheering on Charlie Smith. I know you know who his driver coach is. Mr. Bradshaw, of course. Great to see Charlie get the win yesterday in the final. But, of course, today is a very different day. There's a lot more meaning into today. But it still means that there is any possibility that you have to expect the unexpected in any kind of championship. When you get to the last day of the season, just throw the Hollywood script into the bin, be done with it, and let the chapters write themselves. That's what we're going to have today. So, top 10 are as follows. Radenkovic, Maximov, Smith, Sidler, Longnoir, Wise, Holst, Van Wyk, Krotov, and Hare. Krotov running out the top 10. Babichkova, Lloyd Hare running out the top 10. So, let's see who will join Macaulay Bishop as another race winner here this weekend. So the drivers now will head towards the start-finish straight. Right, so it's 6:40 p.m. That's beer o'clock in Roger Young's book. Right, let's get through into racing. Revs start to rise. Lights go from red. We go green, we're underway. And it's the run to turn number 1 for the first time. Radenkovic defends. Maximov has got Charlie Smith to the inside. Oh, we've had a couple of carts come together. Oh dear, 351 is there. Lewis Goff. And who is that? 35, well, what's that? Tino Potier, 359. And they both, oh, well, it looks like, oh, well, that's an unusual way to get to the pit lane, Tino Potier. Completely shortcutted the circuit. Lewis Goff has just parked it, so the 351 from Sam Pollock Racing. Oh, back axle was bent. Shame there for Lewis. He still was the first driver from the United Kingdom to secure his ticket at the RTX Winter Trophy in Orlando, Florida, earlier on this year. And was one of the very first drivers, including Rubens Barrichello, to qualify. Meantime, just over a minute completed. Mateo Radenkovic leads the way. Charlie Smith in second. Boaz Maximov trying to go up the inside of the American, but not at this point in time. A little bit further back. Oh, right. It's a bit closer. Tino Sidler and Teresa Babichkova. And I think Babichkova got through. So the drivers making their way down towards turn 10 at Cafe Corner. Today is Babichkova now ahead of Tino Sidler. Oh, that's going to be a bit close. going through into turn 11. Babichkova made it stick though. And I think Christopher Holst was there. And today's Babichkova now finds herself in P3. It was Ollie Wise, Christopher Holst and Jort van Wijk, I think, that were battling away. And Ollie Wise got the best of the pair of them. Had a good chat with Ollie's dad this morning. Warning flag for Christopher Holst in the 311. As Matej Radenkovic keeping a calm head on proceedings and controlling the field at the moment. And Ollie Wise right on the back of Tino Sidler. Through into 6 and into 7. He's got Christopher Holst behind him. Sidler's countryman from Switzerland. And I've met quite a few characters from that country now, as with my commentary endeavours now working with the Porsche Schwarzkopf Suisse this year. But always mild-mannered, always pleasant, always smiling, and that's the Swiss nature. Charlie Smith now tries to look for the move, and he goes up the inside for the lead. Great slingshot manoeuvre there by Charlie Smith on Matej Radenkovic. And look who's behind Matej Radenkovic himself. Today's Babichkova. And there's Radenkovic, there's Babichkova, but Smith keeps it high and wide round the outside of Babichkova. That allows Boris Maximov to get through on the 381 from the Czech Republic. I still remember when today's Eliska and Petra and Denny were running with a former world karting champion, Danny Curl at Tep's racing team. But good to see today's in different colours these days. Past the halfway point of this race, and Babichkova up the inside of Maximov. That's P3 for the 381. And now, what can Charlie Smith do? Can he secure a heat win here today? He did the final yesterday, so I'm sure it's not without. It's within the realms of possibility that Charlie Smith could better a certain Matej Radenkovic. But today's Babichkova up the inside, gets through on the American, onto the European for P2. Tom Langlois now holds the fastest lap of the race, but Tom Langlois, even with a 55.034, is all the way down in 10th position. So today's Babichkova looking for her second heat win of the weekend, trying to force an error from Matej Radenkovic. And obviously Matej and good friends with his dad Alexander, Serbian heritage in that young man. So of course that Serbian grit and determination will be used when it's required, at its absolute necessity. But still the top four line astern, covered last time by just half a second. And still, here goes Charlie Smith up the inside of today's Babichkova. They nearly scrape sidewalls, and Babichkova stays ahead of Smith. But here goes Maximov up the inside of the American and gets through at turn 6 and 7 off of the European. Luke Scheumer, I'll answer your question after this race, but thank you for asking that. And he's cheering on Boris Maximov at the moment, who's in a real dogfight with Charlie Smith. Today's Babichkova now gets a warning flag from race control. As we head into the final minute and 20, that gives us 3 laps of racing. We're on lap 7 out of 9. And now Charlie Smith starts to pull away ever so slightly from Boris Maximov, who's got Tino Sidler, Christopher Holst, Jort van Wijk, Tom Langlois, Bastien Mesnil and Ollie Wise trying to breathe down the back of his neck. So, with 50 seconds remaining, the gap between Radenkovic and Babichkova, at this point, anything's possible, anything can happen. The unpredictability phase of this championship is still here. Now diving to the inside, there's a move. And that is Tom Langlois on Jort van Wijk. Bastien Mesnil now gets a black and white warning flag from race control. 2 laps to go and now the elbows are out. And Tino Sidler sets the new fastest lap of the race, 54.677. So 5 black and white warning flags have been issued during this race. As the timer hits 0, Mateo Dankovic will make his way out of the Europolan. And it's 2, but there's a bit of a switcheroo fest going through into turn number 7 and 8 out of the chicane. But next time around it will be last lap. Right, 3:56. Ollie Wise has just been given a black and white warning flag. He's just got through on, I think it's Thomas Verheyen. But Mateo Dankovic leads us on to the final lap of the race. And now there's a battle between Tino Sidler and Boris Maximov. Tom Lenoir with another fastest lap of the race. 54.392. And now through to the inside. There's a change for position. That's a little bit further back. So Boris Maximov through on Tino Sidler. But the leaders are very soon coming towards the final section of the circuit here at Karting Genk. And it will be the case that Mateo Dankovic has managed to hold on the advances of Teresa Babičková, and the Belgian picks up the win here in qualifying heats A versus C, heat number 2 of the weekend for today. And Mateo Dankovic holds on by just over a quarter of a second ahead of Teresa Babičková. Charlie Smith in P3, Boris Maximov P4, Tino Sidler, Christopher Holst, Tom Lenoir, Jort van Wijk, Bastien Mesnil, Ollie Wise, Trofim Krotov, Thomas Verheyen, Arnaud Sabahat, Lara Koenice, Joe Gethin made up 10 places and finishes in 15th. Peter Sasha Im, Pablo Estevez, Alex Adams-Acton, Louis Le Rigolard, Ollie Yonkers, Molly Griffiths and Lloyd Hare rounding out the top of the 22 finishers. We lost Theo Eriksson, Lewis Goff and Tino Potier early in the race. Now, coming on to Luke Scheumer's question, yes, I have to second what Tiger Holthausen, my good friend, Roger, have you got a beer in hand? You should be having dinner right now. Right, okay, moving on from that. There are circumstances where we have more than one ticket winner in a division, and I'm going to give you a prime example of that. Because at the moment, with the championship as it is, the top 3 in seniors, Longnoir has got a ticket through NSK, finished second in the championship. Macaulay Bishop got his through the International Trophy at Le Mans. Sidler got his through CEE. So, if they still stay in the top 3 and Charlie Smith finishes 4th, he gets the ticket. The same could be said with DD2 in its own right. Sam Knopfius has got a ticket. Antoine Barbarou has got a ticket. And Frederick Zebis will have a 0 score at the end of this weekend, which means that it could be between Nicolas Guillaume, William Norbert, or not Nicolas Guillaume, Axel Hoos, or Lawrence Herbose. And at the moment, Guillaume is leading the way, so Guillaume could be in line for that ticket. But it depends on what happens after this weekend. So, folks, there are the highlights as you see on your screens at home. Some great door-to-door battling as we've come to expect in senior Rotax here in the BNL Karting Series. You know, you look at the illustrious honour roll list that I have been through already once this weekend, including the incomparable and one of the best drivers, I think, in the world of karting nowadays, Joe Turney. But you know what? That concludes this morning's action here for the qualifying heat stages, live, courtesy of our streaming partners, WFR Live TV. So we are now officially going to go to the lunch break here on the live stream, both on the YouTube channel and also on the Facebook page. So we will be back just before 1:45 this afternoon, local time here in Belgium, as we'll have the pre-final stages. That will be 3 pre-finals and the last senior Rotax qualifying heats here at the Home of Champions. And then the finals, they officially get underway for Championship Sunday at 3:15 this afternoon. So We'll see you in a little while. Thank you so much for joining us. And tune in. Don't touch that dial. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on when we come back for pre-finals and the finals here on Championship Sunday for the conclusion of the 2025 BNL Karting Series season and our road to Bahrain concluding here at the Home of Champions. See you in a bit.